So here we go. Welcome back to another edition of the League One Lowdown. Today I'm joined by Laurie Martin, the man who covers all things Forest Green Rovers. Last year, Laurie, what a season it was. Promotion to League One for the first time in their history. I'm looking forward to going to Forest Green. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. It's not as hot as it has been. I'm sorry I had to put it in there. But Laurie, what a season it was. We'll talk about the elephant in the room later on. But League Two champions on goal difference, of course. But promotion to League One for the first time in the history. How would you recap last season?
Yeah, it was an incredible season that exceeded all expectations. Really, obviously Rob Edwards came in, young coach. I think all Forest Green fans, acknowledge they'd have to be a bit patient and wait for things to go wrong. But Forest Green hit the ground running, and for the first 30 games were absolutely outstanding. Looked like they might smash league records. People after the 4-0 win at Tranmere in January, which was a massive win. People were saying that's them up. That they could realistically get over 100 points, be promoted by the start of April, end of March, whatever. And then, the last 16 games were a real slog. I think it was 4 wins in the last 17. Forest Green just really struggled to get over the line. And in the end, made it interesting and did so in the most dramatic fashion. Obviously, they clinched promotion with 4 games to go at Bristol Rovers. But Exeter just kept closing in basically throughout the run-in, and Forest Green went into the final day as outsiders for the title, despite being at the top of the table all season. But yeah, a goal in the last 10 minutes from Josh March, a 2-2 draw at Mansfield, and Forest Green managed to get their first league title in a long time. But yeah, an incredible season, some brilliant individual performances, and they got what they deserved in the end by lifting the title. I know some people will say that titles, as long as you get promoted, you end up in the same place, don't you? Whether you finish first, second, or third in League Two. I think it really would have felt like a bit of a damp squib if Forest Green hadn't got the job done, because they were top for all of it, and they nearly let it go, but in the end got the job done.
They did. In fact, they did. Were able to lift that trophy high and playing League One football. Well, let's talk about Rob Edwards then. He left and joined Watford, and Ian Birch was come in, of course, from Notts County. What is the current mood of Forest Green Rovers fans? Probably disappointing to see their manager go. They're hoping he was going to be here for the season, but it's one of those things when a manager does well at League Two club or whatever, sometimes the Championship club sometimes snatch them from their grasp. But what is the current mood currently?
Yeah, well, the mood's definitely sort of moved on now from Rob moving on, and there was a lot of anger in those sort of few days, couple of weeks after he left. I think a lot of fans thought that he would stick around for this season, and myself included. I really thought he would, but that was probably naive. If it wasn't going to be Watford, I'm pretty sure QPR probably would have gone for him, or maybe even Birmingham. So it probably wasn't going to happen. But he sort of made all the right noises that he would stick around. But when you get an opportunity to go to Watford, if he gets it right this season, then he'll be in a Premier League manager. And if he gets it wrong, then he'll probably get a job in the Championship anyway, because, Watford's such a hard job. So you can't blame him for jumping ship, although, there's lots of controversy about the way he left, with Dale Vince, the Forest Green chairman, coming out saying that negotiations took place behind Forest Green's back and they didn't have a clue about it. So there was a lot of anger in that sense, which I understand. This anger I don't particularly share, because I think, you've got to acknowledge what Rob Edwards did for Forest Green. Certainly in my lifetime, the most successful and likeable manager the club have had. And that was just in one season, just getting a league title. He did an unbelievable job. So yeah, that sort of anger and a lot of high emotion was around for a couple of weeks, and then Ian Birchnell coming in. I think most fans are happy with the appointment. I certainly am. I think, would have been my number one choice. It seems to make a lot of sense. He seems to fit the profile of what the club want. Young, innovative ideas, plays 3 at the back, possession based. Some fans have question marks, in the respect that, not a whole lot of experience, certainly in the English game. Obviously, no Football League experience. The fact he didn't get Notts County promoted, although, I think that argument's, pretty invalid, really, because the National League is so strong nowadays with lots of money going about in it. So yes, some fans have doubts, but I think it's really important to sort of be open-minded. I'm fully behind Birchall. I think it's a good appointment, and excited to see what the season's going to hold.
Indeed, and Morecambe last year were promoted, and they had their first season in League One. Of course, they stayed up. Forest Green will be doing the same. Let's talk about the transfer business, Laurie, because there's been some key outs, but sadly, that always happens, don't it? When a team win from promotion from League Two or League One, sometimes their best players get picked off by loads of different teams. I'll let you rattle out the outs and some ins as well. What's the transfer business been like so far?
Yeah, well, there were 3 key players out of contract this summer at Forest Green, and they were always going to lose all 3, unfortunately. Kane Wilson, League Two Player of the Season, a right wing back winning Player of the Season. It just doesn't happen. It's almost always the top scorer in the division, but people recognise how good Kane Wilson was last season. Forest Green picked him up on a 2-year deal. First season was okay. Got injured quite a lot. Showed promise when he played, and then last season was just the best player in the league, and quite rightly got the award to show it. So he's gone to Bristol City. Ebo Adams, a Forest Green legend, over 100 games for the club, the most unique player probably in League Two last season, probably the best midfielder across 3 years in League Two. Great energy. I'm going to be impossible for Forest Green to replace, and I think they've probably acknowledged that, and you've got to sort of replace him in different ways because he had such a unique skill set, and he's gone to Cardiff, so two players capable of playing in the Championship and are going to get the chance to do so. And then Nicky Cadden, who's his sort of contract saga dragged on a little bit longer. I think there was hope from Forest Green that he would stay, but it was always going to be unlikely. He's again been linked with clubs sort of throughout his time at Forest Green. And he's gone to Michael Dust Barnsley. Staying in League One, but gone to a club who, will have promotion aspirations. And I know a lot of Ipswich fans wanted Nicky Cadden to join Ipswich. But he's gone to Barnsley. So they were the big 3. And then, a couple of losses who Forest Green who offered new contracts, like Dan Sweeney, who was a leader, sort of utility man, versatile, who's gone to Stevenage, and Sadou Diallo as well, who didn't play a lot of football last season, but showed real class on the ball in midfield, and he's gone to Derry City. So they've sort of lost 5 players that they wanted to keep, but couldn't. And but the recruitment's been good, and the good thing is that Forest Green knew full well they'd lose those big 3 players. So the planning, I've got no doubt, has been going on for months, because they would have known that they had no chance of keeping Wilson and Adams, so they can just get on with the replacements straight away. So in terms of the wing backs, who are going to be key to replace, because they were at the centre of everything Forest Green did well last season. Forest Green's plan was to attack with width and get crosses into the box, and Wilson and Cadden got a lot of goals and assists. So they brought in Corey O'Keefe from Rochdale for the right wing back role, who was probably the second or third best wing back in League Two last season behind Wilson. So that looks a really good addition. On the left, they've gone for Harry Boyes, who was at Solihull last season on loan from Sheffield United. Had a really good season for Solihull, who obviously got to the playoff final, and he's got a foot injury at the moment. So another left wing back has been brought in as well in Jacob Jones from Swansea this week. But sort of across the pitch as well, additions have been brought in. David Davis could be a real key one, former Birmingham, Wolves, Shrewsbury. If he can keep fit, he'll have the experience Forest Green need, because it is a youthful squad. And I like that, but you need experience to get you through. And I think he could be a real leader. And then in terms of sort of advanced midfield players, you've got Reece Brown returning to Forest Green. He had a great season for Rovers in the 18-19 season, earned himself a move to the Championship with Huddersfield, and he just never got a game, really. So I expected him to go to a top League One club this summer, because he's had a few loan spells at Peterborough, helped them to promotion, played a few games in the Championship for Peterborough last season as well. So I thought he'd go to a top League One club, but Forest Green have done really well to get him back. And Armani Little as well from Torquay United, who scored 15 goals, 10 assists last season in the National League. it's a proper Forest Green signing. A player from non-league, got good numbers, still of a good age. So they're two really exciting additions. And then Oliver Casey on loan from Blackpool as well has come in to sort of strengthen the back line. And Forest Green are nearly done now, to be fair, in terms of recruitment. I think it'll only be one or two more, but they do need a striker. Matty Stevens, 27 goals last season, is out till January probably with an ACL injury. And so they've got two strikers, Josh March, who sort of came in for Stevens. He's been at the club a couple of years, but replaced Stevens really well at the end of last season and scored a couple of vital goals. But he was a backup in League Two, so he's not going to start every game in League One, I wouldn't imagine. And then Jamil Matt, who's the captain, the leader, started every single game last season. But can he do it in League One at 33 years of age? I certainly hope he can. I've got no doubt it'll have a massive impact, but possibly not. So they've recruited basically in every position now, sort of from goalkeeper all the way up to sort of attacking midfielders, but they just need to get a striker, which is obviously really difficult to get right because every club wants one.
Yeah, that is always a key position, definitely in League One, and it is really hard to find that man who can score the goals as well. Well, Laurie, that is a great little roundup of all the transfers there. Let's talk about this season ahead then. This is the third time I'm saying, I'm sorry to say, I don't know why I keep saying it, is the first time Forest Green will be playing League One football, which is great to see. I'm sure a lot of clubs are looking forward to trying the Forest Green for the first time. How do you reckon they'll do? We've seen teams get promoted from League Two. Some go straight back down. Some do well. Some even get promoted again. Do you think momentum is going to be a key one?
I don't know really, because you would think that having just won the league, but Forest Green didn't really have any momentum because they won 4 of the last 17 and obviously lost the man who was key to it in Rob Edwards. So it kind of feels like it's not a new era, but certainly a new start now. So I wouldn't say, for example, I think Bristol Rovers have probably got momentum the way they ended the season. I'm not quite sure Forest Green is the same. I think it's going to be really tough. I look at League One and I can't sort of see, any definites that go down. Like I think Cheltenham will struggle this season. They've did really well last season and the season before, but I look at it and I think they're one of the ones who could go down. But then they've got one of the best attackers in the league in Alfie May. So like anything can happen. It's not easy to pick sort of candidates. So Forest Green, yeah. Look, if you offered me 20th right now, I'd be happy because it's staying in League One, isn't it? But it will be difficult. I think you've got to take inspiration from the clubs that went up last season and all did really well. Cheltenham and Cambridge, really set the standard for clubs of that size, really. Not big clubs, not big budgets, and they did really well. Bolton, a bit of a different one because obviously they are a big club with a big budget, but obviously look like they could be in for a really good season again. And then Morecambe as well, staying up sort of on the last day of the season. So all 4 clubs did it. So Rovers are definitely capable of doing it. But it's a new league. It's going to be difficult. I do think they will stay up. But it's, no doubt it's going to be a difficult one. I know the club sort of won't set any targets, publicly. They don't want to say, let's just stay up because, they could well go on to achieve more. But I would be happy with just staying up, to be fair, especially with all the turmoil that's happened this summer in terms of losing the manager and a few key players as well.
And of course, League One is such a bonkers league. It's basically Championship 2.0. So many big clubs, so many different teams battling. Ipswich Town finished 11th on 70 points. Wickham finished 6th with 83 points. It's mad. It is just crazy. And, Forest Green are a welcome addition to league. And it will be the first time the two teams will meet in their histories. First of all, it's a trip down to Forest Green on the 6th of August, the first away day of the season, the second league game of the season for both sides. And then, of course, Forest Green have their first trip to Portman Road in February. Once again, it's too early to predict on how these games are going to go. But what can we expect from a Forest Green side? And just, the 2 games is always going to be interesting. One last year, Town struggled against the team newly promoted, so they want to revenge that. But you just never know when you come up against a team like Forest Green.
Yeah, I mean, it's what Forest Green have come to League One for, isn't it? To play Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, Charlton, Portsmouth, Derby, and the rest as well. It's the reason they've come to this league. I can't go to the the home game on the 6th, which I'm gutted about, but I'll have to make sure I get along to Portman Road in February, which again will be, an amazing occasion. You think, 20 years ago, how sort of far apart the clubs were in everything, and now playing against each other on a level playing field. So, look, I think the game in a couple of weeks will be interesting because, maybe it's a good time for Forest Green to play a club like Ipswich. Maybe still get into grips, and a couple of players, sort of new players, bedding in and stuff like that, or it could work completely the other way. You don't know. But yeah, expect Forest Green, I think, this season to stick to their beliefs. It will mostly be 3 at the back. I think they won't change for anyone. When they go to Hillsborough and Portman Road in these massive stadiums, I think they'll continue to just play out and be brave on the ball, which might result in conceding cheap goals and maybe getting thrashed a couple of times. But I think that's just the way it will be. I think they'll think that it's the best way of getting results in this league. So yeah, it will be obviously a tough one on the 6th. I think it's a great first home game to have. What an occasion, I think when Forest Green first came to the Football League, their first home game was against Barnet, and whilst that was a great occasion, it was Barnet, a team that they played in the conference. This is playing Ipswich Town, a proper club. So, it's like an honour for Forest Green to be playing these clubs, but they've earned it, and they're not here to make the numbers up. And I've said a few times this season that Forest Green will beat a big club at some point. I don't know who it will be, when it will be, but that will be a great occasion because I can already just imagine the meltdown in the opposition team's fan base, saying this is the worst moment in our history, losing to a village club. But whether that happens against Ipswich or whether that happens against a Charlton, a Sheffield Wednesday derby, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, it's always going to happen. Definitely in League One, it always happens. Well, Laurie, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining me. It's been great to hear all things Forest Green. Any other business, my friend? Maybe a little tip, just people probably look into the vegan food and all stuff like that at Forest Green. It's very well run club. Little tips to anybody who's going to the away day. I know we've got a sold out away end. So any other tips and stuff and just how to get there and the stadium as a whole?
Yeah, so I can't imagine Ipswich fans will like it particularly. I mean, it's an open air terrace, a bit of seating, a bit with a roof over, but it is mostly all standing open air terrace. And I can imagine there'll be lots of long queues for food and all that. It's just one little sort of kiosk at the end of the stand where you can go for that. So I mean, my advice for any Ipswich fans would be to, obviously, all depends how you're getting there and stuff like that. But if any are going by train, then they'll end up in Stroud and stay there for as long as possible, really, because it's actually a town with a lot of pubs, Weatherspoons and stuff like that. Whereas Forest Green, there isn't anything to do at all. So if you're getting a supporters coach up, then you might be in a bit of bother if you get there 2 hours early. But yeah, it's different to any other away day. I'd imagine ones like Accrington sort of compare to it in terms of what you're getting when you get there and stuff like that. But yeah, my advice would be don't get to the ground too early and try and enjoy Stroud, Gloucester, wherever people end up. And there's actually a bit to do.
Definitely, mate. Well, I'm looking forward to my first ever trip to Forest Green. I'm sure it's going to be a lovely day. And we shall see how both teams face up against each other. Well, Laurie, thanks for joining me, my friend.
Cheers, Ross. Thank you.